You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end is near.
Well, hello everyone and welcome in. We have got two people here tonight that you all love, you missed. We've got Dan and Angela Clark. Man, I'm going to tell you, these guys are really tearing up the internet. They are doing more programs than you can ever imagine, and they are trying to alert people to the dangers of the cults. Now, not just Jehovah's Witnesses, but also the Armstrong group. So anyways, they're with us here tonight, and they're going to want to have you call in and talk to them. And I know we had some new ones calling in tonight. So this is where you can voice your opinions. If you got things to talk about in the world of the witnesses or in world of the Armstrong group, well, by all means, speak up here tonight and talk. So I'm going to turn the program over to Dan and Angela Clark. Thank you guys for wanting to come on tonight. We had an opening and I said, hey, let's bring these guys on. So thank you for coming in. I know it wasn't, you didn't have too much time to prepare, but you guys are always, you're always doing the hustle. You're always ready to do it. So I'm here if you need me. Just let me know. Thank you.
All right. Well, you know, Rick, there's always something to expose with a Watchtower and always something new coming out. And, you know, we've been just going on and on. We appreciate the break. You know, we ask you for a little time because we've been doing some traveling and just clearing our head up a little bit. But I'll tell you, we can't stay away from exposing these guys. It's too many people are hurting, too many people are suffering, and it really hurts us. I'll tell you, I had a really cool story happen the other day, and I was up on Mount Shasta, and I was talking about what separates us all. And I kind of got emotional because when I was up there, I said the only thing, I don't know why I get emotional, but the only thing that separates us is belief systems. You know what I mean? It's like we all breathe the same air, eat the same food, sit under the same sun. You know, we all came out of a womb. And I thought the only thing that separated us was belief systems. Well, some sister wrote me and she said, Dan, I feel like I could send this to my sister who's still a witness. And, you know, it was just a short little thing I did up there. But what was beautiful about it, Rick, was she called about 3 hours later. She said she sent the video to this lady. She said the lady said something happened because, see, this is real. What we're doing on your show, Rick, is real. We're talking about real stuff, real pain we suffered in there, real disillusionment, real brainwashing, and we've come out. So it was one of those talks. It was heart to heart. It was like the Six Screen. It's real stuff. It's experiential. So we gave this short little talk. The lady said, Dan, something happened. Something happened where it broke through. And that's why we got to put our voices out there like we're all doing when we come on this show. Like Rick said, we're one big team. Well, this lady says, Dan, something broke loose. And she told me something broke loose. And she said, oh, my God, something freed. And then she sent it to more witnesses. And the other witnesses said they were feeling some kind of freedom because it was a cry from the heart to say, when are we going to stop religiosity? When are we going to stop us against them? When are we going to stop thinking, you know, we're better, we're right, they're wrong? And I guess that's what made me think about the show tonight. You know, what do we do after the cult? How do we not enter the cult again? You know, we live up here in Mormon country. And I got to tell you, they're just as convincing as the Jehovah's Witnesses. If you were to talk to them, they got a tapestry about covenants and that God would never leave us without a prophet. And by God, he had a prophet, Joseph Smith. And they have this tapestry of scripture, but it's the same kind of binding. We could end up in the same thing. So my question was, is everything a program? Is it possible to be in the world without a program? Can we really love somebody without, you know, is everything a damn cult? Is everything, where do we go? Where do we go after Watchtower? You know, and it's taken me, you know, 20 years. I've been to so many churches, so many things, and I felt that separation. And like Daniel says, how do we still love each other and still care each other without being a religion? Is love a religion, you know? And so anyway, it was kind of cool, Rick, because it spoke to somebody's heart. You know, I think somehow, religion, Daniel has said it before, pushes us up into our head where we know everything, but somehow it don't move us into the heart. What part of love is religion? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, Rick, thank you for the opportunity, because it's just more healing. We all need healing. We all need different levels of healing. We're all going through things. I mean, why was I crying out there? Why was I crying in this little talk I give? And I'm trying every way to reason with these people. We did a thing last week about mediums. You know, I said, everyone criticized me. How could you say they're mediums? They're not channelers. They're not this. And I said, if you tell me that Jesus said, I put you over all my belongings, you've replaced Jesus. You've replaced Christ. I've placed you over all my belongings. You're my faithful and discreet slave. I'm not going to give him spiritual food. You are. You're going to give him spiritual food. Even though it's been wrong for over 100 years, 100 years of false prophesying. My God. And you're saying you're connected to God. You say you only know the only true God. I got to tell you something, Rick, and people out there listening. You know,
what was that, guys?
When I was out there, I believe this. I'm sorry, I'm going to say this, and nobody has to agree with me. But I think when we gave God a name, when we named him Jehovah, and we said that was his name, I think we made him a man. I really do. I mean, angry, jealous, spiteful, bitter, pull the rug out from you. You can't trust him. And I don't know about anybody else, but I could never worship a God like that. You know, when I left the witnesses, I was so terrified that God was a monster. God was angry. He's going to vindicate his name. He's going to beat me into the ground because I don't know him. And that's what I'm wondering, guys. Where do they go? Where do they go after the cult? I got a list here. Do they go to Joel Osteen, Joyce Meyer, Benny Hinn, Kenneth Copeland, T.D. Jakes, Pat
Methodist, Lutheran.
Where do you go? And I guess I was going to ask people, because everywhere you go, there's a dogma, there's a theology, there's an ideology, and how do you sort it all out? So I'm just curious, where, I'm not trying to, I know, Rick, this isn't a religious show, because that's not what tonight's about. But I'm just wondering, how have other people left the cult? And I know a lot of them, like Rick says, go atheist. I mean, who wouldn't be afraid of God after you got out of this cult? Who wouldn't be afraid? Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Dan, you go back into your own heart and you take a breath and you go out into your own yard and you realize that the creator of everything is everywhere.
Amen. Love that.
That's what I did too.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you guys that I don't know if you guys can see your YouTube comments or not.
No,
but I'm looking at YouTube comments, and everyone's so happy to have you back on here with us. Hi, let me read you some of them. In fact, hey, Dan and Angela. Well, there you go. That's Free Mind Research. Beverly Harwood, Dan and Angela, yeah. Martha Salinas, hello, Dan and Angela. I love you guys. I saw that Dan, it gave me chills. It was beautiful to see him. Dan and Angela are back. So I think this is the type of comments we're getting. See that? Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's cool, Rick.
I can see them. I think my phone. Thank you for that, Rick.
Yeah, when we put the phone really close to this, it makes a static sound. So I don't think we're going to be able to look at those comments. That's too bad.
I'll just say something real quick.
All right, hold on. We're going to say something to somebody real quick. You know how that is. You got to text it.
When I get a minute.
Hi, Linda.
I just want to say to Dan and Angela, thank you for coming back on. We love you a lot. And thank you for the research that you did. It's really interesting. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are always so welcome. Go ahead.
I just want to say, Dan, the last YouTube video you did when you're in the mountains,
Was it Shasta Mountains you're in?
Yes, Mount Shasta.
Dan, you'll have to shut
got
that phone off, and then later on when the program's over, you can watch on YouTube.
You got it, Rick. Thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead, Daniel.
When I watched your video, and when you got emotional, what inspired me by that, you were out in nature, and it truly shows you when a person transcends, like you and your wife had, from the mind to the heart. And that emotional it's that love. It's that unconditional love. And you want to share it. You want others to feel what you're experiencing. And that comes through your video, the videos you do. And it's beautiful. It's okay for you to get emotional. You have that awareness and that intuitiveness, and going from the mind to the heart is a beautiful experience. And I always thank you and Angela for what you guys do, because if we can grasp that and get out of the mind and get off the loop cycle, get out of the change the film in the mind and go to the heart, we will be able to heal much faster when we come out of a cult like the Watchtower. And that's what you and your wife do that I think is so beautiful. And if people can just grasp that and run with that, we can all transcend and go to a place of healing and sharing with one another. So anyway, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. Yeah, you guys, we were at Bunny Flat, which if anybody's been up there to Six Screens, that's where we were. And I hiked up all in there while Dan was up on the side of the hill, sitting on a log on the side of the hill to the left of Bunny Flat, about halfway up that pathway. But I went to the right and hiked all up in the land there. And you guys, there were hearts made with stones, big ones, little ones inside of big ones, plants in the middle of that. It was unbelievable, all the crazy amounts of loving hearts that have been made up there. It's like interesting. There's not maybe there's a few circles, but mainly everything was just hearts. And I thought, man, this is a place where people just go because they want love, I guess. And that is a symbol to me that they're experiencing love up there. They want love in their life. And, to me, like when our minds are jacking with us, it's going to make us in a bad mood. It's going to make us angry with people. It's going to make us filled with resentment. But when we can get out of that kind of mind, which is, I think, our false mind, and then we get and say, no, I'm sorry, but I'm not choosing to listen to that mind today or right now, because I'm going to just think about something more loving, more kind. That is a step in the right direction to say, I'm not going there, little mind. I'm not going there where I'm going to think positively. I'm going to say good things. I'm going to pray. I'm going to do whatever it is I think to do that's in the love, joy, peace, lovingness, kindness, all that kind of stuff. If that's where our mindset is, we'll be getting really somewhere that is broadening that heart wide open like a flower. And the more we stay in that spot, we will actually affect lives. But when we let our little mind rule and we think negatively about things and people everywhere we go, we're just creating more of the same, exactly what we don't want. And that creates stress. And I don't want that in my life. I'm trying really hard to keep myself out of my crazy monkey mind, whatever you want to call it, ego, small self, whatever, just so that I'm not going there. I want to stay in my God mind. So that's what we're trying to do. And that's why we went to Mount Shasta. We just love places that make you feel like you can stay in that kind of a space. And we love places like that. So.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah.
Yep.
I was just thinking as you were talking, Angela, is that look at the Watchtower. Where do they want to keep us at? It's the same place that the governments, other cults do, is they always want to keep you in the mind, because that's where most people are enslaved at. their insecurities. They think they are the mind because they're thinking, you know, am I worthy of this, or I'm not worthy of this? Am I whatever? The Watchtower was very clever in teaching us that the heart was a treacherous thing. So we were to shun away from getting into the heart energy. See, if we stayed in the mind energy, they could control you. When you start to have a spiritual awakening, you start to step into the heart. And the Watchtower doesn't want that. That's why they don't want you going to colleges or universities or anything where you start thinking outside the box, because then you start to think differently. So I think it's so important that people understand that transcending from the mind to the heart is that when you start thinking for yourself and you start looking at the world today and you love one another, you have compassion for one another. It doesn't matter if they're a Mormon or an atheist or whatever they are. You find people you love, and you don't judge.
Right.
You know. Anyway, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, I love that, Daniel. You know, whenever you say that, I always think about that one story, you know, that oh, sorry. Go ahead, Pixie.
Regarding the mind, did not want us to be present.
Right.
Oh, that's such a good point.
It was always in some biblical Old Testament past or some paradisaical future, and the only place we actually do exist is the present.
Yes.
Yeah, which mind in the present, right? It's like, to me, there's like the present.
I shared this before, but my ancestor was a physician, and he had the little phrase, "His future's a mystery. That's why we're in the present. It's a gift."
Will you say that again? Because you broke up a little bit, Pixie. It sounds too good to miss. You're breaking up just a little bit.
The phone is terrible here today.
Oh.
The past, history.
That may be far away.
The future.
No, there's a buzzing sound.
Yeah, I know.
I knew myself, so I hope it wasn't my phone, but I knew myself, and it's still there.
My phone is terrible.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if it's the weather.
It might be your phone, Pixie. I don't know.
It's my phone.
Oh.
Okay.
Maybe the battery's low, Pixie. Is there any
We
chance
were
of it?
picking you up. It's just a little staticky.
Just every other word.
But we hear you.
It was so good, though. I hate to miss it.
The rhyme goes like this.
Okay.
The past is history. The future's a mystery. That's why we're in the present. It's a gift.
Oh, I like it. It's a gift. Present is a gift. Oh.
Yes, and see, and like we've been talking about, Watchtower keeps us in fear, and fear is what keeps us in our heads. I sent Rick a video today that was somebody sent to me. It's probably an old one, but it was a Kingdom Hall doing an emergency broadcast, and they were saying, "Did you get your to-go bags?" You remember that? They were all running around, and this big thing went off, whoop, whoop, whoop. And they're like, "Grab your to-go bags. Did you get your to-go bags?" And it was this whole drama. And I thought, wow, Watchtower, to me, Watchtower equals fear. Watchtower equals keep you scared to death.
Well, yeah, because the sound that they started it out with is that sound that you hear in an emergency situation, like an emergency broadcast. Does that not always bring about a fear just when you hear something like that? So they started out with that. It's like they know what they are doing. That is for sure, because you associate that sound with scary, it's always, that sound is always associated with what you fear. So interesting,
Yeah, and
they take you that place in your mind.
Yeah, and you know something? It's weird, but we didn't know that was happening to us. We didn't know that all the assemblies
Maybe somebody who's on can maybe mute for a second.
Yeah. Mute.
We have, hold on one second. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think it's cleared up now. Yep.
Okay, good. But, I remember all the assemblies I went to, it was always fear that drove us to serve Jehovah, fear of leaving Jehovah, fear of never, drifting away from the truth, fear. In all the assemblies, there was always screaming and yelling and killing. And, they didn't make it back because they drifted away from Jehovah. And everything is fear. And like now the fear is like on steroids. It's like, they're giving them to-go bags and all these different things. And anyway, but I got to tell you guys a secret. This is a secret. It's really not a secret, but you guys may know this about me and Angela, and you may not. But both of us came out of a cult. Now, we didn't know we were the program. We were just living in the program, right? We thought we were the program. We thought we were Jehovah's Witnesses. We had the truth, but we didn't know it was programmed into us to believe like this, and that it was the truth and the only truth and nothing but the truth. And both of us, what we didn't realize was that we were missing love. We didn't realize that. It was all law, duty, door to door. Brother Clark, did you get your hours in this month? By God, get your hours in this month, or we won't use you for this. You won't get to, read the Watchtower. You won't get to do the sound, and all these little duties you had.
For me, going to church on Sabbath and keeping each holy day and getting off work and, I don't know, just everything that was asked of us to do. It was just a lot of law, a lot of rules.
Yep. So
forced on you.
So here's what's cool. We did not know, and I'm going to tell you a secret. If you want the best chance at all of getting your relative out of Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide, whatever cult they're in, the best way to get them out is to love them out. And I'm going to tell you, both Angela and myself got out of a cult, which is a program in the mind that we believed was the truth, but it was really just a program kept in place by fear, driven into us by fear to leave. In fact, we had death threats when we left, right? You're going to have the second death. You've known Jehovah. You've done the unforgivable sin. You're going to be in Gehenna. There's no resurrection. You're going to be crushed under Jehovah's feet. You're an apostate. All these labels they gave us. So they sentenced us to really death after we left. And we survived. But what we didn't realize was those threats and everything, and I want to say this, I hope governing bodies listening, everything you threw at us did not compare one iota to love, the power of love. And some lady, I got to tell you this lady who helped me never told me her religion. And I've said this before, but I'm going to say it a little bit differently. She never told me her religion. I kept saying, what's your religion? Who are you? Who's this lady, Marcia, who was helping me? I was like, who are you? What are you? She goes, well, aren't we supposed to love our neighbor? Aren't we just supposed to help each other? Aren't we? And I'm like, who are you? And she says, if I tell you who I am, your program will boot me out of your system. You'll boot me out. If I say I'm a Christian, if I say I'm metaphysical, if I say I'm whatever, no matter what I tell you, the program in your head will boot me out of your life. So she says, I'm not going to tell you. So this went on for a couple years.
She said it didn't matter.
It didn't matter. I'm here to love you, she said. I'm like, whoa.
And Dan kept saying, what do you want? What do you want?
I kept
from
saying,
me?
what do I want?
Because you're giving to me, but I'm not giving you anything in return. What is it you really want from me? Why are you doing this?
She would spend every minute with me. What do you want to talk about? And I'd say, well, I don't know. Let's talk about this. She goes, oh, this will be fun. And I'm like, who are you? What are you? What is this all about? Are you guys,
And she seemed to know so much about
She knew
him.
about everything. She was brilliant.
She knew all about the Jehovah's Witness religion.
Yeah. It kind of broke me down about women, being second to men, and men are up here and men are the head. I was like, man, these women are sharp. In fact, God threw me into a whole bunch of women.
He even taught Dan how to serve his wife.
Yes. She
thank God.
Everything she could hit me with, she hit me with. And anyway, but the main thing was, guys, she spent this enormous time with me, and her love shattered 40 years of absolute certainty lodged into my brain. Watchtower had no chance. Watchtower doesn't have any chance. People that are thinking about leaving, they're starving. They're starving for love. And I got to tell you, this lady's love bypassed this, reached my heart, and I said, I want that. how could this lady love me? How could she do this? Now, here's what's interesting. She worked with me for a couple years. She taught me everything, personality profiles, programs. She spent so much time with me.
She did little plays and skits.
Little plays. She helped me out of the blood
doctrine.
doctrine.
Came and did it with her.
Yeah, she did these plays. She came over the Bible. She says, show me which one that says good health to you. She showed me 50 Bibles on a dolly, and they all said farewell, except ours said good health to you. So that would promote the blood doctrine. And I was like, whoa. And she says it really wasn't about blood. And she had me read the whole thing. And her husband played that he was a Jew, preaching circumcision. And they came across.
Did it too, Dan?
Yeah.
Did the plays too?
Yeah. And the other
George.
was the Gentiles. And they were eating the food sacrificed to idols and drinking the blood. And there was a fight brought out. They did a play in my living room.
Just to help Dan.
Just to help
get
me.
Free.
Get me free.
That's love, man.
And I said, who are these people?
Why do they have all this time for me?
Why do they have this time?
Why do I matter so much?
And I fell in love with them. Now, here's what I didn't know. They were previous Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yep.
They didn't tell me, I'm a whatever, and you ought to be too. They never told me. And I'm like, you were Jehovah's Witness? She says, yep. I sat in those assemblies and watched those kids get the shit knocked out of them.
I didn't learn this for like 15 years later.
Yeah.
After he marries me.
Yeah.
Then it came out.
And I was like, oh my God. But she let love speak, not religion, not Christianity, not anything else. Love is a language. I'm telling you, love is a language, and it spoke to my heart. I knew that was the truth. I walked away like it was nothing. I walked away from the witnesses like it was nothing. I turned in my letter. I was forever ruined because somebody took an interest in me. I mean, even the masturbation thing. Yeah, the lady was trying to get me to open up about it. Like, what's wrong with you? You seem really tense. You seem really tight. What's wrong with you? And I said, I can't tell you. And she goes, tell me. And I said, I think it's something to do with sex. She said, well, let's go to the bookstore. And I'm going to the bookstore. She goes, let's go to Barnes and Noble and let's get you fixed up. And I'm like, I'm helpless, lady. I'm helpless. We go to the bookstore and she goes, damn it, will you tell me what's wrong with you? And I looked at her and I says, well, I masturbate or something like that. And she goes, like this. And I'm like, what? She goes, let's go back to Barnes and Noble. She grabs this big old stack of books like this. And she goes, she spent like $100 on these books. And I'm thinking, who's this lady? And she spelled out, she got me a tape. It said, could you imagine being in a 21-year-old body and moving into adolescence and this thing that's part of you? You were told, that this was bad and no good, and you're no good because of it. And you're a man against his own self, and how horrible that would be. And I said, yeah, I think I got a belly full of ulcers and I'm all screwed up because of it. The lady just laughed and she goes, oh my God. And when I heard that tape, I got to tell you, when I heard it was a part of adolescence, is a part of something that awakens with us when we get a certain age, I was free. And some lady did this for nothing, guys. Nothing. And anyway, that was my story.
You know what's beautiful about that, Dan? Is that when you tell that story, she was a person in your life at the right time, right place that actually helped you transcend from the mind to the heart. She got you into your heart. And that's where you could forgive yourself. That's where you could realize it's okay to be where I'm at. Now I'm just going to do better. Now I can do this. It's just a beautiful story. I just wanted to say that.
Thanks.
Hi, Dan, Angela. This is Carrie.
Hi, Carrie. Is it Carrie?
Hi. You can hear me?
Yeah.
A little. It's broken up a little bit, but yeah.
Can you hold on a second? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you?
Yep.
Okay, good. I had to take my hearing aids out, so if I can't hear every single thing.
No worries.
I just wanted to say I saw that on Mount Shasta too, and it was beautiful. It gave me chills. Because Dan, you came from a part of love, and when you replace love, when you replace fear with love, you conquer all.
Amen.
And that was something that happened to me when I left, because as soon as I let go of the fear and I replaced it with love, I felt like I was on top of the world. Like nothing could shatter me. And it was a beautiful thing. And I've lived my life like that ever since I left the organization, which is way over 20 years ago now. So I'm with you here on this message of love, because it's that center. And we were denied that heart center when we were Jehovah's Witnesses. And when we allow that love to come back to us, you become powerful. And it's a beautiful thing. So thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you so much. I mean, I can't even say how much I love what you just said there, because it's really, really, really true that we're kind of brainwashed to believe that God, Jehovah, is always not happy with us. So to open up our heart, it does not come natural for us. We have to literally make up our mind that I'm going to sit down. I'm going to try my very level best to get my heart to open. If we can't, we cry out to God or Jehovah, whatever you want to call God, and say, please, will you help me get my heart open? And Greg Braden, is that right? He has a technique that I love that helps you practice getting your heart open, where you think of your grandmother who's passed, or you think of something you feel really sorry for, that's like across the street, somebody's suffering or something, and you use that as the avenue that you just go into your heart space about that, and you think about that person in a compassionate feeling tone, and that is an opening. And from there, you can just start to talk to God and ask him to also, because he wants us to receive what he has, which is a lot of love, which is not what we were taught. We were taught that God's mad all the time and he's a mean, mad, Jehovah. But that really isn't the truth, because God is love. But we are blocking it. We are blocking it. Not that he is, we are blocking it. So we learn the techniques on how to get this heart open. And if we don't know how, we practice Greg Braden's thing, or we ask God to help with changing that around. And maybe it won't happen overnight, but we keep trying to get our heart space open by, even by showing compassion in your daily life. That will open your heart big time. Like you do something kind. Did you ever notice how your heart just feels so good when you go back home and you think, oh, I'm so glad I did that. It makes me feel so good. That's our heart space opening. And that's God. And so go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that's so true. When we start to think about other people, and we have that Christ-like attitude, or walking in his footsteps of being being of service. Yeah. That's what it means, being of service to humanity and showing that type of love. And when that happens, and when you replace the negativity and the hatred and the fear and the guilt, and you put that type of attitude within yourself, and you open up that heart center, it's just much more. You break away from the negative, and you come into the positive and into that love. And it is a service to humanity when people give of themselves in that respect.
Yeah, it's so true. And that is a big way to open your heart space too, is by doing that service, right? It's like, again, because it makes you feel, you've done the right thing. And that, it says that as you've done it unto the least of these, your neighbor who's suffering, right? You did it unto me, which means you did it to God. That's what that means to me, because he said, you've done it unto me. You did that to me. Whether it's a duck or a dog or your neighbor, or literally across the street or whatever, you did it to God. That's what it did. You did it unto me. And that's what it means, guys. So when you're doing something kind, know that you are loving God with all your heart. When you're doing that to that person, that animal, that pet, whatever it is, you're doing it to the least of these. Least of these can mean a bug. You do that kindness, and it opens your heart space. And, that service, that's the way to get our heart open more than anything else. And the more we stay in that space, the little mind, the negativity mind, will just begin to diminish. And we have these choices every minute of every day to think in that positive way and do some sort of little, whatever it is, whether it's making something in your kitchen for somebody, or some little neat little card or something to make them cheer up their day, or buy some flowers at the store, take them a piece of candy, that whatever. And all these little things are all, loving your neighbor. It's loving God with all of our heart. That is, because that's God in that person. And because he's in all of us, because he just is. We can't breathe without God being inside of us, guys. That's the truth. So he said, so if you did it to the least of these, you did it to me. That's in the person. I'm loving God when I'm doing that. So that broadens us out, and it just we start to learn how to live in that space more and more and more often. And that changes everything. And if we all can be doing that and saying, I'm not going to be in this separate mind, like, okay, every time we think of someone else as being lesser than us, we're saying that we're separate. That is what that means. And we're separating. And that is what I feel like the government, the churches, all of them pretty much have tried to process get our minds in a programming of separateness. I'm better than you. I know the way. I know the truth. You don't. I'm more wealthy than you. You're poor. I'm rich. You're stupid. I'm smart. This is all separate thinking. And this is just not the way that makes us happy. It's not what God had in mind. It's not the mind of God. I just don't want it anymore. I don't want it anymore. And I'm praying that all of us just see it that way, so that we just say, no more little mind, no more negative mind, monkey mind, whatever you want to call it, ego, enough with you. Off with your head, off with your head. Remember that movie in Wonderland? Off with your head, off with your head. Little mind, go away.
Yeah, I was going to say that society really wants you to. They put it on television. It's that ego. Oh, I have to have this. I have to have that. Or I have to have this status. It's all they're commercializing that ego, and it's not until you get rid of the ego and you go back to love and to the heart is when you find peace.
That's right.
So true.
And I
too is that they try to, if you've heard the expression of the physical man versus the spiritual man, we grew up in an organization that convinced us that we knew the Bible better than any other religion out there. We were the true religion. So it gave you a false identity as we're very spiritual. In reality, we weren't. For the most part, you could say we read our Bible, but in all fairness, if you were to ask an average Jehovah's Witness that say you were even born into the religion, say you got the theocratic ministry school, so you go through the Bible once a year and plus whatever you're studying for the Watchtower or whatever, most Jehovah's Witnesses can only tell you a handful of scriptures, like Psalms 83:18, Matthew 24:14, and some other scriptures. But could they actually, for being the only true religion that knows their Bible better than anybody else, the average Jehovah's Witness can tell you a handful of scriptures. The rest, we've seen it, but we don't focus on them. And that's what I found fascinating, is that they use certain scriptures to cherry pick to keep you indoctrinated on what they want you to be doing, what you want you to be focused on, and whatnot. When you transcend from the mind to the heart, I know it's probably going to irritate people, I keep saying that, but when you transcend from the mind to the heart, you have an awakening that all of a sudden you start seeing things that you didn't see before, even though they're right there in front of your eyes the whole time. It's kind of like watching a movie, and you watch a movie a second time and you notice something you didn't see the first time through it. Once you have that awakening, it can be scary, but it's also very beautiful at the same time, because then you realize what actually, whether you believe in a religion or not, or believe in the Bible or not, and how you look at Christ. Look at what Christ was trying to show his disciples. They were a physical men. He was trying to teach them spirituality. He was trying to get them out of their mind and into their hearts and teach them humility, teach them love, teach them mercy, teach them everything about spirituality. And that's what our journey is. And if we can go from the mind to the heart, I guarantee you all of our pains, all of our stresses, we're still going to have scars, battle wounds, but we're going to be able to shift into a place that you're not judging anymore. You're just loving and you're helping others, even as you're still growing. I'm still growing. I mean, Dan and Angela, when I met them the first time on the 6 screens, was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had. It was their love, their vibration that they were sending out. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can relate to that. I can feel that, but I know I'm not anywhere near where they're at. But it inspired me to run with your love, run with your growth, and realize you don't have to stay paralyzed spiritually just because of what's been done to you. Those are just a learning experience, what you have gone through, but it's the growth that you can go far up beyond that. And that's where Dan and Angela, I love about them, is because they really shifted me or helped me shift into realizing, you know what? Yeah, I've been through this, I've been through that, but guess what? How much stronger am I today from going through those things? And anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much.
They take everybody just as they are, and it's a beautiful thing. I think that's why I gravitated to them as well, because I just feel comfortable. Dan and Angela, I feel comfortable talking with you. I've been on a couple of your shows, and I just have a very nice time every single time. And every single time I come out of it feeling uplifted. And that's so important with all the negative that's going on. I mean, when you come up, you want to feel like you want to go out in the world and you want to help. But if you're in a negative mindset, you just can't do it. So that's what I love about you guys, is because you're trying to get that love out to the world, and it's wonderful. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you
so much. We love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, guys, I thank you for all those nice comments.
Amen.
Really appreciate it. And, you know, but I think that's what love's helped us do, because me and Angela were both helped the same way. You might want to tell your story, Angela, what happened with the Charlie perfume.
Okay, sure.
This is how Angela got out. Now, we didn't know that this was love coming at us, love speaking to a different part of us that wasn't brainwashed. See, the mind, that's why you can't really debate with witnesses, right? How do you argue with God's name, Jehovah? He's not a Trinity. He's not this, all the stuff we were in the Bible. And because they told us it was unequivocally, every word was the word of God, and they had the right Bible, how could you debate that? So you really can't debate with the mind, but the heart can cut the head literally right off. And so when that lady helped me with that lovingness, it completely decapitated me. And the same thing happened with Angela. With how many years of belief did you have in the worldwide?
Well, the worldwide was like 22 years, but then I got into another just as dangerous and bad of a cult after that. Because as you guys know, I'm sure you've heard probably about this, but there's a thing called cult hopping, where we end up, because we're used to someone telling us how to be and how to do and how to live, and it makes us feel safe. We run to another person who will do the same for us, and it makes us feel secure. So I did that. So anyway, what's the point about that? I would stick
with that one with the Charlie perfume.
Okay,
and
so
how love spoke to you.
Yeah, so I was still in my cult. My husband said that to marry me, he said that he would give up Christmas and birthdays and all of that, like what was in my religion. And then when we got married, he reneged on all of it. So I found myself with a baby now, and we're going to his mother and father's house at this point, and they're having Christmas, and I was just fit to be tied. I didn't want to be there, but I'm a submissive wife. That's how I was raised. And so I'm going, but I'm not happy about it. And I'm moody and just crabby, and I'm just, I I didn't want to be there. And I just figured that they hated me because I didn't really want to be there. And I'm ruining their Christmas by my snobby attitude. And so the second year, I'm ruining it again. And I believe it was the third year. My mother-in-law says, Angela, honey, come in the bathroom here with me. And I'm like, okay. And she's being so nice, so loving. And I go in the bathroom and she shuts the door and she opens the medicine cabinet, takes down a bottle of Charlie perfume. Here, honey. And she says, oh, it's not a present. I just want you to know we love you. And we're so glad you're in our family. And I'm like, what? It's the last thing I expected you to tell me in the bathroom. And then give me a gift and then you make sure I don't feel bad and you don't have it wrapped and I can take this just because you love me. And I'm like, weird, because in my religion, you're only loved if you do everything right. And you better be doing everything right or you're kicked out, just like in the Jehovah's Witnesses. So here this woman is loving me when I have not, I don't agree with them. I'm arguing about their beliefs, about you name it. I'm just a bee. Right. And so I'm like, what is this? What is this? I'm like, I've never been treated this. This is odd. I don't get it. And all of a sudden something in my heart said, this is the love of God. And I'm like, yes, that's what it is. That's what it is. Whoa. And I just kind of tucked that in my heart. And that is the beginning of my beginning to get out of my religion, because I had not seen unconditional love before. Love was always very conditional in the way that I was raised. And no other way. It's still that way to this day. If I do right in my family, if I do right by my mother, then I'm in good, I'm good with her. If I do anything at all wrong, then I'm not. And it's just, you just... honestly, you just don't feel like you can ever do it right. And you're always getting in trouble. And it's never unconditional. I love you. And it's the same with my dad. He's now Seventh-day Adventist. My mom still kind of pretty much the church I grew up in for the most part. And it just, you know what? It's what brought me, and my heart began to open at that point. And that's when I started being willing to listen to, read other things. And I began to say, no, something's not quite right in my religion. Anything has a beginning, right? It's kind of like Dan said that those little girls on the step at the place who are going to knock on doors, they open the doors wide and the girls smiling on their faces and they're all dressed really cute and, smiling and clean and their house is immaculate and marble floors and big 2 doors and they're smiling and beaming and love of life. And they're just so happy. And it's like, really? Jehovah's going to kill these people? This just doesn't make sense. And, it didn't make sense. And so when these things don't make sense, we have to pay attention. I just said, this doesn't make sense. This woman loving me for no reason when I don't deserve it. But see, that is the love of God. It's not like what we were raised with, but that is what we all want. And it's what God wants us to have, but we don't think we should have it because that's not how we were raised. It's obedience. It's rules. It's dogma. It's whatever you come up with. You must do these things. And if you do these things, we'll love you. But that's not love.
Yep.
It's not really love.
Yep. And I want to just say at that door, that was one of the breaking points for me as a witness, because when I went to the door, I went there with these magazines, all excited to tell them that the world was going to end. But I just happened to be in this mansion in a gated community. I parked my car on the road, and when those 3 little girls held up a $1 bill and said, here, sir, to me and my partner, I got the thought right away, and the lady's got a beam and smile, and we went to give them magazines and books, and the lady goes, that's okay. Give them to somebody else who might need them. Thank you so much. And
each of the girls gave them $1.
That love.
Smiling.
Yeah, and I want to tell you what happened.
Unconditional.
Yeah, and I want to tell you what happened to me after that. I was in the car with the presiding overseer. I got in the back seat, and this is how powerful, again, love is. I took those magazines and I threw them on the floor. And I said, this is not the truth. And I was mad at God. I said, Jehovah, how could you kill these people? How could you kill these little children? Who are these people anyway? Why do they have nice homes and nice cars? And they seem like they're sure nice people.
And blessed.
And I threw them automatically. It was like, something was already happening up here. I just threw the magazines. And then I went, oh my God, my former wife looked at me and says, what are you doing? I said, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing.
I lost my mind for a minute.
I picked up the magazines and I said, oh my God, these are Jehovah's, back in the head, like Daniel says, back in my head. And I said, oh my God, these are Jehovah's utensils. And
I've
I
been
went,
bad. I've been bad.
yeah, I've been
right?
bad. But again, so that was one incident along with these others. But the other one was the disfellowship guy. And I know Daniel's talked about, other people have talked about it. When you see that guy that comes back to the Kingdom Hall, broken, he's returned home, right? He's the prodigal son that says, I'm going back to Jehovah. Well, what does he get when he goes back? He gets a 2 to 10 year quarantine in the back of the hall, or I guess they're doing it in the front of the hall now. But anyway, what was I going to say about that? About the loving part of it.
Just you threw the utensils of God and you felt guilty about it. You were in your
Oh,
mind.
yeah. So that was the second thing that broke me, because I went over to that man because my heart said, go over there. He's sitting on the back of the car crying. And I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, are you okay? And he goes, no, I'm not okay. I want to come back to Jehovah. I want to come back to the meetings. And this brother came over and grabbed me by the shoulder, kind of pinched me and said, leave him be, up in his head, right? And I walked away and I said, something is not right. See, love is what's missing. And if we're to bring love, people in the organization are starving for it. And I'll tell you, I'm going to tell them one more story.
Yeah.
We had a lady in the church come up to us, her and her husband. We were visiting. We were at some Bible study. We wanted to check it out. And this lady said, we heard you were a Jehovah's Witness. We got some real big problems, me and my wife. And I said, what? And the guy was pissed off. I mean, he was mad. He says, we saw my daughter. She starts studying with this guy. And all of a sudden, she turns her back and looks back at me like, I'm never going to see you again, Dad. And they had Christmases and they had holidays and they had all these things. And he goes, what the hell just happened? That's what he said. That's what he said. What's going on here? This man's having a wonderful study with my daughter, and now she's gone. What the hell's happening? And so they sought us out like people that were desperate for water, and they wanted to meet with us and, have coffee, dinner, whatever we wanted. They wanted to talk. And the guy didn't want to hear what we had to say. The lady did. And I said, one, stop preaching to him. Stop telling them about Jesus. Stop it. You're not going to break through this mind. You're worshiping the mediator, right? That's what we were told. Jesus is the mediator, Jehovah's God. So when you start talking to that, the switch goes off. They've already been programmed out of church ideology.
Yeah, because you're worshiping the mediator.
Yes.
So why listen to you?
Yes. So they're like, well, what do we do? I said, you love them. And the lady goes, what? How does that look? I said, do they need some money? Does he have some favorite cookies? Anything but religion, I said. This is a true story, guys. And the lady says, I'll do it. The husband wasn't going to do it. He was pissed. He was going to just break somebody's neck, that God let his daughter get stole away by a cult, right?
And he was a nice guy.
He was a nice guy.
He wasn't a nice guy. He was, but he was just really mad that this had happened to his daughter. He felt so robbed, so like a thief came in the night, So
we saw this lady, and this lady told us, she goes, Dan, I made him his best cookies.
Yeah, we saw her way down the road.
Yeah, this is
a year
like
later.
2 times.
Yeah.
But she said, I made him his best cookies. I said,
good.
Right
good,
on.
Good.
Then she said he got in some financial whatever, and my husband helped him out. We didn't know anything was going to happen. It set their asses free.
Yeah, and they kept doing this.
They kept doing it, and they said they kept doing it, and they saw that it was working. It wasn't that they were buying them. It wasn't that they were manipulating. We were like, okay, show the love of Christ. Don't preach it, show it. And so and the way they say it in spirituality is be a vessel for God's love to be made manifest to other people, right? So they came out, and she come over to our house. The wife came over to our house. What was it? A year later?
Yeah.
And she
So now
said,
it's at 2 years.
she said they're free.
Yeah.
They stopped studying immediately.
And we saw pictures.
We saw pictures.
She was on his back, and he's going around like she's, on his back like he's a horse, and they're taking all these really cool pictures. I mean, it's like, really? Could he really be getting that free like that? I mean, he was playful, actually. Playful. And she was too. And it's like, it's true. They're getting free. They really are. And I guess now they're getting married.
And she was teary-eyed. They have relationship. They come to their gatherings. They come to their parties. They come,
even Christmas.
And she cannot believe it. But that's like what this show is about. We're talking experiential, guys. I came out of the cult. Angela came out of the cult because someone showed her love. Someone showed me unconditional love. Love is God power. Love is not mind power. Love is not manipulation. Love is not scripture.
It's not preaching.
Love is not religion. Love is God. God is love. And if we make ourselves a vessel, and that's what one thing God helped me to do. I got to tell you this, guys. This is something. When I got out of the Jehovah's Witnesses, I was not going to be in another program, right? And then I started reasoning. I thought, well, how in the hell can I not be in another program? Everything's a program out there. Anything I buy into, anything I study, I'm in another program, right? And I hated to think that because I left, 200 Christian churches. Not that they were bad. I just didn't, some of them had a name associated with them, and I didn't want to be a product of that name because I was a product of Watchtower. I was a product of governing body. I was a product of Stephen Lett. So I didn't want to be someone else's protege, right? And so what I said was to God was, I said, how in the hell everybody's a program? Everybody's a program. If you were to go over to Israel, there are 4 different religions in one continent.
In one little area.
Now, here's what nobody wants to hear. Nobody wants to hear this. Everyone wants you to believe their program. No, you got to hear my program. This is my program. I'm a this, I'm a that. But what I realized was this. If you were born over in Israel, you might be a Muslim. You might be a Hasidic Jew. You might be one of the other 2. I forget what they were. But whatever it is, you would be that. If you were born in Tibet, you would be a Tibetan monk worshiping Buddha on a temple, right?
Or something like that.
And so I said, God, now, if you were to take a Buddhist and put a lie detector on his finger and you told him, I'm going to test you and see if everything you say is true, it would resonate as true.
It's true that it
Mormon,
really would.
True. Jehovah's Witness, put your finger in there. It says it in the Bible. Here's what it says. It's true. So how can everybody be true and everybody be false? Or how can everybody be true and yet it's bigger? Now, here's the thing. God helped me to understand that that's the way it is. And it can't be any other way. Think about that. How can it be any other way? When you meet somebody, they're going to have an idea based on their education, based on what country they were in, based on what part of the world. How can I change that?
It's a program.
It's a program. I'm a program. And so I said, I can love them. Love can take beliefs and put them aside to where I can actually see the person aside from religion. In other religions, they say namaste, the God in me, honors the God in you. But, the fact of the matter is when you really understand that it can't be any other way, you move into, I accept that. And I'm going to love you because I've said this to people. How can you love people? How did we really love people when we were a witness, when we were wishing they were dead, when we thought any minute they were going to be dead? In fact, we used to say sometimes we said we went to the door, boy, I'd like to have this house when they're gone.
Or when they don't accept what you have to say at the door, they're dead.
Yeah. And so love, I think Daniel mentioned it, but love gives you different sight. Gives you a different way to see. It actually, the love comes up into the brain and alchemizes it so that you can actually see somebody that's your brother, even though they might believe something different. Isn't that crazy? Anybody want to share? Throw it out, guys. Throw me out. Criticize.
Hey, Dan. You know what?
Dan,
It's Ron. I just wanted to say thank you very much for the wonderful show tonight. Daniel, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just had to come on here and say thank you so much for the great show. And you're absolutely right. It will be so great when the day comes and we can look each other in the eye and say, I am God living me and so are you. And the reverence for the one life living us all, when we look each other in the eye, we have that reverence for God living each other. And it's a beautiful message, Dan and Angela and Daniel and everyone else that's on here. I love it so much. Not really much I add to it.
Ron, you've said that before. You said you used to say that a lot. I've heard you say that. And at first I rejected it. I'm God living me. But the truth of it is, who beats my heart Where does my heartbeat come from? When I wake up in the morning, who beat my heart? Who chose me in the womb? Was it me? Did I chose me in the womb? How did I come through? Was I in the womb before I was born? Was I just sitting there with a million other people inside my mother's body? Or did God put me in the womb? And if God put me in the womb, he put everybody else in the room. And then I thought, oh my God, everyone else's heart's beating, not by their beating, but by God beating it. And I thought, they are God living them. You know what I mean? Because we couldn't be here. God, in fact, says, I'm closer than your breath.
I don't know. I think that might be some.
You know, I'd just like to add something, if I could. I was in the park this morning, and now the Jehovah's Witnesses are back in the park with their little carts, and which I think is wonderful. I greet them. I talk to them every Saturday. I go to the park. But this morning, there was a couple weeks ago, there was one of them that was having like a heat stroke or something, and the paramedics were there, and they had his shirt off, and they had like probes on him, you know, testing his heart, and he was one of the witnesses, and so I lingered there for a while, and you know, I told them I'm going to say a little prayer for the brother there, you know, and everything, and so this week I went back there, and I asked them. I said, "How is the gentleman that was with you? That went? Oh, he's better and everything like that. And thank you so much. We remember you, and remember that you were saying a little prayer for him, and we really." And they really appreciated it, but they can see I'm different, you know. And then so I said, I always leave them a little message with something. And I said, you know, when Jesus said, you know, this means life eternal, to know God. And as actually the witnesses changed, taking in knowledge of you to know God, to actually, they changed it right. They put it back. This means, they say, everlasting life, life eternal, to know you. They changed it back to know you, which I really thought was really cool of them to do that. But anyway, I was telling them this, and I said, you know, eternal life is living. See those birds over there? See, we don't have to wait for some paradise to get eternal life. Eternal life lives us in every nanosecond. It flows in us all the time. And there we just like with their eyes open, they were listening, and it kind of woke up something in them. I said, have you ever thought about that? That it's not some future, it's right now. And they kind of like, wow, yeah, that's so true. And so it was just interesting. But then she went back and she said, because here comes the program, Dan. This is what I wanted to mention. It's so interesting. It's very interesting. I mean, we love them all, but it's very interesting. She goes right back. She goes, yeah, she said, and that eternal life, how do you get it? By taking in knowledge.
Oh, how weird.
So funny, because their Bible doesn't say that anymore. It actually says to know you. And so I thought about you, Dan, and I said, Dan said about the programming. See how her programming come back after all those years of us saying taking in knowledge. And now that they change it to know you, she still says taking in knowledge. And she used it. She goes, and that's why you should study with Jehovah's Witnesses. She went right back into the program. Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yes. And you know, it's funny because today we interviewed a guy from Australia, Dan and I, really neat guy. And since he was like probably 3 years old, I don't know, he had this knowing that God is more like something that you would have a friendship or a relationship with. And he's such a precious guy, because to me, getting to know God isn't knowledge. It's a heart issue. That's how you get to know the real God. But it's funny how lots of religions make it about knowledge, and it's all head stuff, and it puffs up, and it doesn't really do the job. I'm just going to say it that way. It doesn't do the job. And when you think about God is love, and what is love, and it says what love is in the Bible, that love is patient, it's kind, it's generous, it's full of mercy, and kind, and slow to anger, hardly notice when others do it wrong, gentle, all these words, right? That does not connotate knowing knowledge. All that stuff is heart stuff. Every bit of it is all heart stuff. And God said, I am love. So God is heart stuff. Mind is more like our false self stuff. It's completely opposite. So a lot of these religions, it's all mind and knowledge, which puffs up, and it's all ego, and as opposed to heart, it's completely opposite. I think it's kind of interesting because so many religions are made up of knowledge. Anyway, for whatever that's worth.
Angela,
You
that's
know what a lot of people
perfectly said, Angela. Sorry, Daniel, go ahead. Yeah, perfectly said, Angela.
Thank you.
No, I was just thinking that what a lot of people don't understand, when you go from the mind to the heart, it's actually like saying going from the physical self to the spiritual self. That's when you open up to when you actually get into a place in the heart that it transcends, it blows the ego completely out of its place.
Let's get that blown out.
Actually dissolve the. What's that?
I said, good. Let's get it blown out, huh, Daniel? Let's get it blown out. You said it blows it out. I'm like, yay, let's get it blown out.
Blown out, yeah. When you actually get into that place where you feel that heart connection, that's your true self. But here's the thing that I kind of, and I'm not saying I'm right, this is my perception. What I've started to realize is that when you get out of the mind and you get into the heart and transcend into that place where that unconditional love is, the ego starts to dissolve. And depending on the person, it can be a painful process, it could be an easy process, or it can be all kinds of layers you go through. But going through that process, I believe what happens is once you transcend into the heart where it's unconditional love, you see almost like you're wearing a different lens of glasses. You're not judging people, you're loving people, and you see things in a different light. But all of a sudden, you also go back into the mind. Now you got the heart and mind connection, but the ego is dissolved. That's where you truly transcend. It's because mind and body, or you say mind and spirit, or you have that connection. And I believe that's what Christ was trying to teach while he was here on earth, because you go from a place that, if you look at, we were raised in a cult, right? So we had a programming, and we were taught we had unconditional love, but in reality, we did not. Somebody asked too many questions, or they were disfellowshipped, or whatever. Guess what? We were taught to judge them. And you can say, well, no, I didn't judge anybody. Well, did you go and talk to them while they were disfellowshipped? Well, no, because if I wouldn't talk to them, I'd be disfellowshipped. So you went along with that judgment in a way. Right. See, as me growing up in my life, I couldn't do that. I would go up to different ones, and I got in trouble. I even got in trouble when I was disfellowship for going up and trying to encourage another disfellowship brother that I saw that was hurting. And I got punished for an extra 6 months of being left out of the Watchtower for doing that. But you know what? I don't regret it. Because when you stand up for truth, when you allow your heart to shine, even if you don't quite understand, but you go and stay true to yourself, that's where the blessings come in. That's where you could truly help other people. You take self out of it. You take the drama, you take the pain, you take whatever out of it, and you just show love, regardless of the consequences. And it doesn't make me a special person. It doesn't make me special. It's just I started to have that awakening, and I'm still on this journey. So I'm nowhere near perfect on any level, but the journey that makes us so beautiful. Anyway,
Yes,
I'll shut
I'm
up.
excited.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
Daniel.
Yeah, somebody's trying to say something.
That was beautiful.
It was.
I was just going to say that was beautiful.
It was.
It
too.
was.
Really, really was. If we could all just learn how to not judge so much, okay? Just try to say, okay, you meet a Muslim, right? And just say, you know what? I'm not going to judge that person. I'm going to love them how they are. Oh, that person's dressed really odd. Their colors don't match. They look like a freak show with their hair like that. Listen, no, you know what? Behind that is a special aspect of God. I am not going to do that. No. I'm not judging by the looks. And just kind of catch yourself. Just start catching yourself. And when we do it wrong, okay, so don't beat yourself up about it. Just know it's because our programming, we're sort of a habit type people. We just are. And don't beat yourself up. Do not let your ego self do that, your little mind. Just say, no, you know what? I'm going to do better tomorrow, okay? Next time I'm going to do better, and I'm just going to try harder not to judge. And let's not live like any kind of separation as much as possible. Let's try to love each other the way that each other is, whether we're in a good place on one day or a bad or a good. Because you know what? Honestly, there have been times in my life when I did not even look like any kind of normal person. I was somebody who people would even just back up like, oh God, like that. I'm serious. And you know what? I was still a God person. I still had the potential of being something useful. But at that time, I looked like somebody to be absolutely avoided. Like I
didn't avoid her.
Yeah, no, he didn't. I don't know why. God only don't know why. But you know what? I did have something valuable down beneath it all. So what if somebody's just having a bad life at that time, like I was going through, and we've all had, right? We look like kind of like freaks sometimes, but that doesn't mean that we are. It just means at the moment we're suffering. So how about if we just grace everybody else and realize that everybody's doing the very best they can, and just try it really, 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 really hard to just love everybody exactly the way that they are. And I love that story about that Jesus told about that whole guy who was beat up and robbed and left for dead on the trail. And then all the Jews and everybody, all these different kind of people of different religions for their various reasons, because it was going to mess up their holy day, would not help the guy. It was going to contaminate them and keep them from keeping their holy day right and whatnot. The reasons they all had that were, in their eyes, legitimate. But the guy was, a Samaritan who decides to go and help this guy who everybody considered to be the least of the least of the least. And so he went and helped this guy because he recognized that I don't care who this guy is. I really don't know what religion is. I don't care. The man needs help, for crying out loud. He's dying. He picks him up, puts him on his horse, and takes care of everything. Gets him to the hotel on his own donkey and pays the inn guy to keep him there, and says, if I owe you any more money when I come back, if the guy's not well yet, I'll pay you some more money. And he took care of it in every way. He took care of this guy. He didn't care who he was. He didn't say, are you Hindu? Are you Muslim? Are you Jew? Are you Samaritan? He didn't care. And that was Jesus's point. He is the one who told that story. And because that's how he wants us to be. We don't care what our neighbor is. We just love them. And so that's not always easy, but we all get tested all the time. Every day we get tested, but I just want to start doing better than I ever have before. And I just am excited because I feel like we're all ready for this. I feel like everybody in the whole world is so tired of this division. I feel like they're tired of the way we have to be judgmental and separate. I feel like we all are done with it. I just have this feeling about it, and I think that we're all ready for this. I think we're ready to begin to make this transition. Again, we should not beat ourselves up about it when we don't do well on a given day, but we should begin to try to not judge each other for any reason whatsoever. Just love them, pray for them. If you think they're doing something that's harmful towards themselves, then we say lift up a quick prayer, or we have an idea of putting a love bubble around them in our heart. And just kind of see that we're just passing God's love over them in our mind's eye, and just having a compassionate moment about it, instead of when you want to say, crazy person, or whatever we think, right? Just say, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to see it different this time. And I'm excited because I think we all want this, and I think it's going to happen. I really, really do.
That's wonderful.
Hi, Angela. That was
absolutely beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
this Debbie, you
Hi,
probably
Debbie.
know.
I knew it was you.
I,
Yes, I did. Good to hear your voice. I love you, Debbie. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that you and Dan are real people. You're not fake. You're just a loving, caring, beautiful person. And
Thank
so is
you.
Dan.
We love
And
you too.
I was so grateful and thankful that y'all came by here to see me on your way to Florida. And it meant so much to me. You helped me so much. You lifted my spirit. You made me feel really loved. And I will never forget that. I just want to say thank y'all both.
Debbie, are you moved yet? Did you move?
No.
No, not yet. Okay, I'll keep tabs on you on that. I'm just curious. All right, we love you, Debbie. Thank you for that. You're the sweetest girl.
If I can, but yeah, I don't even know if I'll go when my family leaves. I just don't know.
Gotcha. All right, well, we'll keep that in our thoughts and prayers. Maybe you get a roommate or something like that, you know?
Yep.
Who knows? Just keep praying. There's something good around the corner. That's what I know. Something wonderful.
Does anybody else want to share anything?
Where are we at with time?
You know, Angela, I love what you said about how Jesus didn't judge and how we don't judge. And I think that, you know, the greatest visionary who ever walked the earth was the master, Jesus, right? Because he could see the potential, the divine potential in everyone. It didn't matter what they looked like, what they were going through. He could look into people and see their divine potential. And it's such a good example for us, because as we look at people and we visualize God living in them, then what opens up is their potential. We start to realize the potential they have just by opening up to that person and visualizing God living in them. And it's beautiful. It just really, really works. And so I mean, I think about him when he helped you know, the lady they were stoning, the prostitute lady they were stoning. He could look in her eyes and see the potential of her, and how he would say, these things I can do, you can do also, and even greater. I know we use that so much because he could actually see that they could do it. Like when Peter walked on water, he knew Peter could walk on water. He knew he could do it. You know, he wouldn't have called him out there, you know?
Yeah. And Ron, you know what else too? And Peter also, remember, and Jesus knew that even though he was going to deny that he even knew him 3 times by the end of that day, and Peter's like, oh no. But he knew that he was going to be a rock, and he knew that who he was going to be, even though, you know, he said, don't worry about it. You know what? You're going to fail. You're going to fail me, but don't worry. You know, I prayed for you so that Satan won't sift you like wheat and, you know, make mincemeat out of you because you failed me so badly. You know what I mean? It's like, don't worry about it. I already know in advance, but I love you and I know your potential and I know who you're going to be. And, you know, yeah, you're going to screw up, but you know what? God's got something great for you and you're going to be really powerful in the kingdom of God. And he did. You're right. He saw their potential in spite of the little bit of a screw up, you know?
That's right. He was a great.
Can I answer that? Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please.
I was thinking as when I got into energy work, kinesiology, with my mother-in-law at the time, who was a Jehovah's Witness as well, and I had the privilege of being her assistant, or whatever she called me, working with her and working with people. When I started to really feel that shift from the mind to the heart, and I you start to say you're working with a client doing energy work, whether it's balancing out their chakras or their energy centers or their emotional pain or mental pain or whatever they were going through at the time. When you interchange with a person, you start to experience that how powerful love is, because you feel what they're experiencing on an intuitive level, and you start to interchange love with them. And the beauty of it is they heal, you heal.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the beauty of the ego being separate. Because when it's not about you, you're just there as a conduit or a grounder or whatever label you want to put on it. Is that was some of the most beautiful experiences I ever had with working with people, and they'd get off the massage table or whatever they were on, and they give you a hug after the session and thank you so much. I felt so much better and like praising you. And I said, no, thank you. Because as you healed, so did I. And I started to understand how we can interchange with people with that unconditional love. If you get out of the ego, you get out of the mind, you heal as well as other people. And it's not about you. You're just kind of there as I might even say mediator, but you're just there as the helper, so to speak. And when you're doing energy work, it was never about me. But it's what you learned from every different person you had that experience to work with, and it's something I truly fell in love with. That it's just that interchange. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about them. It was about, really, it was love. It was just that interchange and the healing that you can experience from each other. And really, so you can learn from a child. You can learn from an elderly person. It doesn't matter who they are. We're all energy if you really look at the concept. And if we get into the heart, we can help change this world. And I know people will probably think I sound like a cuckoo, but it's Dan and Angela. It's Ron. It's everybody on this call that feels that vibration of love. I truly believe in this nightmare world that we're in right now, that's in a chaotic tornado mess, is temporary.
It is.
Is what's going to bring it back into balance. Love is, and it's going to be each and every one of us, is surrendering the ego, getting out of the mind where we're out of the fear and the insecurities, and we get into the heart and we just start loving and stop judging. That is what's going to shift this world. I believe it with all my heart. A shift is coming, and it will be good.
That's great, Daniel. I wanted to just share a point.
Cheers.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say this, guys. You know, one thing that I did that helped me to get out of my head a little bit more, because you know, when we were in Jehovah's Witnesses, we were always in our head. It was like a nonstop record playing, right? So when I got out, one of my biggest things to do was find the absolute truth, right? We both did. And we went from church to church to church to church. And not that they didn't have truth. They had a lot of truth. But it was like searching for that absolute truth, because, you know, the witnesses had told us, you know, this is the truth, the whole truth. And so we were going out to find that truth. Well, guys, I'm going to tell you guys something. I studied for 22 years everything you can imagine, and things people wouldn't want to study that I won't mention on here. But I studied everything, and I was searching, and I was desperate. And I was in hell. And you know what I found, guys? They were wormholes. All it was more knowledge, more shit. And my head filled up. And then I cried. I went to another place, this place spiritual. I loved it. And then all of a sudden, I was like, it was a death. It was the end of it. It's like, no, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. It's got to be the absolute truth. Then I went to another place. And I'm telling you guys, after a while, I started looking at spirituality and things, and I said, I'll never know it all. I can't live long enough to know it all. And that's when I started to die to knowingness. Do I really have to know? Do I really have to understand? Do I really have to have all the answers? I don't. I can be in the mystery. Every time I try to put God in my little box, it gets bigger. And so I'm like, I don't know. And you know what? I don't have nothing to sell you. I don't have no place to take you. All I can say is when I got to that place of 20 years, 22 years of studying, I'm going to tell you, I studied myself to death. I did. You can ask Angela. I put down my books. I dropped everything. I said, God's a mystery. God is big. Now, that's just my perspective because that's my path. And I don't expect everybody to believe me. It doesn't matter. But all I know is that love moved a mountain. And what was I going to say about that?
I don't know, but
Go
I can
ahead,
tell you
Angela.
one thing, guys, is that because of this death that Dan's talking about, death of the having to know, because he was sick to death of trying to find it. And it, like you said, it's a million trillion rabbit holes. But once he let go, finally, he is the most beautiful person. It's like, I don't know, somehow he did drop into a heart space because he loves everybody now without judgment. And I don't know what opened a place in him that is beautiful place.
Yeah.
I can't really explain it.
I'll explain it.
Okay, good.
Because what happened was, and I got a gift for you guys in a thing that I got just from the show, just from being on the show. But one of the things I realized is there's an allegory. An allegory means it's kind of what's an allegory? It's just a way of seeing something a little bit different. But there's an allegory that's called kaput. And what kaput means is off with the head. And I literally did that with my studies. I was like, off with the head, because when am I going to stop knowing? When am I going to stop filling up? And I understood what that knowledge puffs up and love builds up. You know, I started to see the difference in the two. And I thought, no matter what I know, people don't want to hear it. They're on their own journey. And so I settled into, I don't have to teach anything, but being the love. Now, here's what I got from tonight's show. This is a gift.
What?
You remember Jesus said, these things and greater you will do?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It ain't you doing it. Because Jesus said, what I do is not mine, but the Father who does it through me. Now, here's what happens when we can push the belief system aside, see people as they are. Kaput. You know, I'm tired of studying. I'm tired of being filled up. I'm tired of beating people with esoteric stuff, religious stuff. You know, I'm not doing it anymore. What happens is the heart opens up. And we, honestly, this is my perspective. This is what my gift was tonight, what I got from this show, what you guys gave me, was that these things and greater you will do is because we become, and we don't know this until this is crucified. The crucifixion starts in Golgotha, place of the skull. None of us would be on this station right now if we did not go through a crucifixion of ideology, a crucifixion. We went through a crucifixion in Golgotha,
the
skull
programs
place.
were crucified.
And I've done it 100 times, but here's the thing. If we can push out enough of that, God's love can actually come through us and be made manifest through us and move mountains. And like Daniel said, and Ron, everybody, it can change the world. We've got to stop this left, right. It's just programs. All it is programs. And I was part of that programming. And I'm like Angela and them. I don't want to be a part of these programs anymore. I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of left, right. I'm tired of all of that stuff. I'm tired of beating each other with scripture and, you know, all this stuff. And you know what? If we can get out of the way, ego, edge God out. This is edging God out because God is love and love comes through the heart, right? So if we can move aside the ego, edge God out, these things and greater we will do. Amen. These things and greater is promised to us. Power greater than ourself. What I do is not mine, but the Father through me. And that's all I want to say, guys. That's my
That's right. That's right, Dan. That's absolutely right. 100%.
Thank you.
How are we doing on time, Rick? I just want to check. We might be running over. I don't want to run over.
You know, when I think about this, you guys, you know what? Without a head, what's left? There's only heart. And dance, allegorically speaking, not,
Yeah,
not actual
don't cut your head off
crucifixion.
tonight.
Okay, don't worry, we're not talking about physically cutting your head off or anything, but just that it doesn't rule anymore. It's servant to the heart.
Yes.
The
mind becomes
is
a servant to the heart.
There you
Well,
go.
Dan, we got probably about 5 minutes left, so go ahead, and then we're going to bring a pasta babe on. But we're going to
All
5 minutes
right.
left.
All right.
Yeah.
Love a pasta babe.
Me too.
Hey,
So go
hey,
ahead.
Rick, could I just say something? Rick,
Yes.
I
Go
want to
ahead.
thank you for having. Hey, Rick,
Yes, go ahead.
I want to thank you for having. I want to thank you for having Dan and Angela on tonight. That was really nice, Rick. You're a great guy too, Rick. You keep up what you're doing.
Well, thank you. I mean, the people love Angela and Dan. I have to tell you, I'm looking at notes here all night long. Well, what they do, I'll tell you what people are saying about them is they're genuine. They love the passion. They love the commitment. These guys are trying to help people, and people can really see that coming through. So we're glad to have them on our network here tonight. And we're going to see them more in the future. So that's very good. So we're going to pasta babe. Linda, if you're listening in, you're going to be coming on in about. I sent you a link. Yeah,
There
Linda,
you are.
is that you,
Hi,
Linda?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm confused with the time, and I really need 20 minutes, and I'll be
You
ready.
need 20 minutes? All right. Well, we'll give these guys some more
Yeah,
time.
I apologize.
So, yeah, check
No
in.
problem,
Linda, what I want you to do is check in every Saturday on my 6 Screens page, and it gives the lineup for the night. So you do that, and then you'll have an idea. I know sometimes you don't know when it's coming on, but you're always coming on from 11 to 12 in that area. But now that Reese isn't on with us anymore, it's more scheduled. So check that schedule out, and you'll be ready to roll come Saturday night. All right, so that's good.
Thank you for that.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All righty. So anyways, we'll keep you guys on if you want to stay on for another 15, 20 minutes.
Okay. Sounds good.
I have no idea what we're
We'll just ask if anybody wants to share. Pixie was talking about the presence and, how we get into that. How do we get into this moment? This moment's really all we have. We got this moment, and then we got the next moment. And, it started that way when we were born. We moved from the moment we were born to the next moment to the next moment. So Pixie was kind of talking about that, how we get to that present moment. I think I've missed most of my present moments because I was thinking about the future and the past. I was thinking about where I needed to get to. And what's interesting, guys, is right here, right now, there's a lot to do. There's a lot of love to bring into this world. There's a lots of hugs to give. There's lots of smiles to give. There's lots of things to do to help heal people. And this does heal people. And like I said, Angela and I were both brought out of cults because of lovingness. Lovingness. It might not sound like a big thing, but yet Jesus said you'll know them by their fruits. And so love love can move a mountain, and we have a mountain to move today. We've heard, these different shows on here and the tough times that we're in and the tough times ahead. But man, if we're here as a vessel of love and service to our brother, and that's our only intention, then we are the change. We really are the change. And why would Jesus say we're the light of the world when there'd have to be darkness, right, for us to present light, right? And so anyway, go ahead, guys.
Hey, Dan, I got a question for you. I don't know if I actually have enough time to go into this subject, but if you look at the average Jehovah's Witness, they were taught to live for the future. Everything was for the future. It was for Armageddon coming. You're going to live in a paradise. You're going to take over somebody else's house, possibly their car or whatever. But we were never taught to live in the now. And that's why so many, not saying every Jehovah's Witness, but the majority had no retirement plan, nothing, because they thought the system was going to end. They thought their kids would never go to school, and then their kids go to school, but they still think Armageddon's right there around the corner. So how would you sum up, if you could, how to help somebody leaving a cult to transcend to living in the now? And not how we were taught as a Jehovah's Witness, if that makes any sense.
I don't know.
How does a person move forward now, leaving a cult, when everything that they were taught was, for the most part, it was a lie? So how does somebody go and move forward and heal, and truly just let go, surrender? What would be the fastest way to do that? Your thoughts.
Mike, you want to go?
Well, first of all, your mind's trying to run the show. That's what I got to say about it. So, we're having to get out of that way of thinking where we have to kind of let everything begin to change with regard to what's going on upstairs. That's kind of, I know that's the trick to the whole thing, because Jesus even said we're not to worry about tomorrow, what we're going to eat, what we're going to put on. It includes your retirement. We're not to worry about those things, because we're not promised tomorrow, and we're having to get a new program, a new way of looking at everything, which is a God mind instead of the witness mind, and it's different. But we're living for the now, because in the now there's beauty, there's creation, there's the beautiful person in front of you, there's the person to serve. And if we're going to miss it, we're going to miss the beauty of the moment and not be in our God self. If we're thinking about, this worrying about, what's going to go on in the future or what's gone on in the past. And so we miss the beauty of the moment when we're trying to do what the witnesses told us to do. We're thinking about all these other things that have nothing to do with this now moment. All we have is this now moment. We don't have it promised another moment. And witnesses are always, in my religion too, we're always living for a future moment. We're never living in the present moment. It's always something that's going to happen in the future, any day, which it keeps eluding us. And we lost the moments, the wonderful moments. When I met Dan, he didn't see the beauty of creation. He didn't notice he didn't notice the beautiful flowers every day outside of our window. He didn't notice the blue sky. He didn't notice all these things. And I'm like, you didn't see that? And you never noticed that before. Well, now he notices these things all the time. It's just taken a lot of years for him to thaw out and quit being in the head, quit being in the future, quit being in the past, quit worrying about what what you're not doing that's right or what's not good enough. But being in the now moment, which is all we have, and being in now moment, there's so much beauty to it all. But if we're in our head, we miss it. We miss the beauty of our kid. Mm-hmm. And they're going to prom this wonderful day. And oh my God, honey, you look so beautiful. And look at that corsage that your boyfriend got you. And just, oh, this is such a wonderful moment for you. And oh, you smell so good. And, oh, let's get you. And you're in the now moment. But we miss the little intricacies, the little beauties, the little thing that really made it super awesome and memorable, when we're just always in our head about tomorrow or something, always thinking about something else, always something, like I said, in the past, in the future, some things we should have done better, coulda, woulda, shoulda, all this stuff, I wish I coulda, whatever. No, it be in the now moment. And that's where God is. He's only in the now moment, and it's all that we have. And we got to look at it that way, or we're missing out.
That's right, Angela. I really love that. And, I write about something called divine sustainability. And it's what I write about in there is something called a fool's equation. So I think Dan and I talked about this one day. A fool's equation is where you're going to work real hard right now to be happy in the future. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what Jehovah's Witnesses have done. I'm going to work real hard so that in the future I can have all this stuff. But while you're working hard under the program in the now, you're creating, because think about it, you can only create in the now. All creation happens in the now. You can't create in the past, and you can't create in the future. You can only create right now. So, and you can only be sustained by divine eternal life in the now, because we are one great divine eternal life living us. And that can only happen in the now. And that's the divine sustainability. You cannot be sustained in the future, and you cannot be sustained in the past. And so that fool's equation is like, oh, I'm gonna work real hard right now, so in the future I can have everything. Well, you know, you are what you create, and you manifest what you create. And so what we have to do is learn to manifest, you know, according to the eternal life living us in the now. That's just a small explanation of what I write about. There's more, but I won't go into it right now.
Yeah, that's really, really
Thank
nice.
you, Ron.
You know, I was just thinking of something that, and this is, some people are probably going to find this weird or strange, but I was on the phone with my daughter here a couple weeks ago, and she's highly intuitive. She muscle tests and does stuff like that. And we were on a kind of a deep conversation, and I was standing outside, and there's a huge oak tree in our yard. And as I was talking on the phone, I started to look at the tree, and I don't know what it was, but I got off the phone with my daughter, and I went up to the tree and gave it a hug and said, I love you. And all of a sudden the wind, we had a storm coming in. So the wind started picking up, and I started to look at the other trees and how they blow, their movement with the wind was, they were just kind of bending and going with the flow of the wind. And I just started to realize how we're all connected, the way God created us. And with energy, we're all connected, and we interchange with stuff that we don't even realize that we do on a day-to-day basis. But to acknowledge that is the creation where you can be grounded, whether it's somebody going to the beach and listening to the waves. Why do some people feel a calmness and a peace? Or they go to the mountains like Dan went and did with Mount Shasta and being around creation. Why does that give you a sense of peace? It's you're interchanging with life force energy. You know, when you actually really look at it, but so many people are on a 9-to-5 job. They're thinking of going to work, coming home, watching TV, or doing whatever, going to sleep and repeating the process. Everything, you know, the expression we've heard, take time to stop and smell the roses or smell the flowers. There's a reason for that expression that is so much more powerful than people even think that it is. It's that interchangeness that's taking time out to ground yourself and to let go of things and not be so serious. It's really, when you can find that place, whatever it is, whether it's your mountains, your ocean, your flowers, whatever it is, take that time and allow yourself to become grounded again, you know?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That is a really good point.
Very, very well said, Dan and Ryan, both of you. I want to share this one thought with you guys. You know, you said, you know, how quick can it be for people? You know, I think it just takes as long as it takes. You know, everybody's trying to figure things out, you know, and I think everybody's path is different. I really do. And so I just think it takes as long as it takes. But I got to tell you one thing that I think speeds it up.
What?
God says ask. I mean, that sounds simple because, you know, most people go atheist when they get out of there. But I got to tell you, a guy today, he came on earlier. He couldn't come on later. We were going to have him on Rick's show. But he says, I'll meet you at, what, 5:30?
Yeah.
And so we're like, okay. And so we raced home and we did this thing. And he got tired of Jehovah's Witnesses and started seeing through it and everything. And he said that he cried out to Jehovah. He said, I said, Jehovah, I want to know you. He said he saw everything different. All of a sudden, he was like a witness, but he was transported like outside of the organization. He said he started going to door. He was still pioneering, and he went door to door to find out what other churches were teaching him. So,
yeah, and then they're like, "You're not a regular kind of
Jehovah's you're not
witness,
a regular
are
witness.
you?"
You're not beating us over the head with scripture." And so he said everything changed when he said, "Jehovah, I want to know you." So what I said was, you started from relationship first instead of religion. And he goes, "Yeah." And, you know, now he goes to church. He said he goes to church and he's a Christian. And and that sort of thing. And he said it's beautiful and he loves where he's at and he feels really good. And I said, God bless you. But I did the same thing. I was like, God help me. God help me. I need help. I'm lost in alcohol. I'm lost in addiction, sex addiction things. I'm lost. I need help. And God help me. And so that was the quickest thing for me. It was God put me with Marcia. God put me with this person. God put me with that person. And I had so many amazing, wonderful teachers and helpers. And you would not believe, they were like they came down right out of heaven to help me sort out my head, put the pieces back together, put Dan back together, because Watchtower makes sure when you leave that you are screwed up, that you are completely dismantled. The programs are there. The JW, Jehovah's Witnesses programs, are there to destroy you when you leave. Now, what you don't realize is when you're in there is that you are being programmed to die when you leave. You're told there's no more hope for you. Your family's cut you off. You're abandoned. This has nothing to do with God. This is not God. This is not love. And I'm telling you guys, the biggest secret to helping any of them is love them. Put your arm around them. Give them a cookie. Take them over to breakfast. Buy them a coffee. Do something like that. But what I'll say is that's the fastest way. Go ahead.
One other thing, too. I'm just going to say, you guys, the 12-step group, I think, I've been thinking lately about what is the safest feeling type place that a witness could go to when they're needing help, because we've been talking about the fact that, you're so programmed that you shouldn't go to the world for counseling,
or
right?
Churches.
Right. Yeah, definitely not churches for sure. And so where would be the best place where you'd feel comfortable? And I realized what it is, because it's where I went, and it was to go to a regular, as much as you could do regular, a 12-step group, like an AA or Codependent Anonymous, Al-Anon, anything like that. So what it is that they call God a higher power. So for atheists, they're usually okay with that. Yeah, they call him God sometimes, but mainly they'll say
they keep it neutral.
They keep it neutral by calling God a higher power, and then they don't talk
safe.
Religion. It's just about overcoming whatever weaknesses that you're there. Like there's Narcotics Anonymous. There's AA, right? You know that's
people
alcohol, right?
That.
There's Gambling Anonymous. There's Overeaters Anonymous, and soon to be, I'm hearing this, the Little Mind Anonymous, because like in this religion that we're in, okay, and mine too, Worldwide Church of God, Armstrongism, Rick called it. They have us in this addiction to fear. An addiction to, he called it the little mind addiction. It's an addiction to whatever the mind says, that's the truth. And it's an addiction to that fear that it's producing all the time. Because you guys, good and well that when you're in a very controlling type of a religion, we end up doing all kinds of crazy things that we then feel icky about ourselves because we're so addicted to that, whatever it is, sex or I don't know, whatever it is. Okay, guys. But here's the thing. We're addicted to whatever that mind is telling us now that we're a piece of crap because we did that again. And you feared again and you weren't perfect again. And it's this constant barrage of you didn't do it good enough. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. And it's an addiction to that. Almost like we wouldn't know how to live without it. And so I just feel like 12 Steps the best place, and definitely just on your own.
And there's
crying
Christian
out
places too. Celebrate Recovery.
Yeah,
There's all kinds of places.
There is.
Pick one that you want.
If you feel comfortable in that, then it's all good. Okay. But for those of us who fear being caught into a Christian type thing and you have a fear about it, then just go to a regular AA. But there's Celebrate Recovery. That's a Christian one. But here's what's not maybe so crazy about it is that sometimes it's not everybody's equal. It's more like that in Celebrate Recovery that you get positions that ends up being a little bit lopsided, where I like AA because everyone is required to be the same. No one's ahead of anyone else. That's what it's kind of cool about it. There's no ego that's allowed to be involved in it. That's what I like about it. Everybody is absolutely equal. So I really like that. Anyway, for whatever that's worth, and if you want to learn about codependency, which is how to function properly in the world, Al-Anon would be great. CODA stands for Codependent Anonymous. Really hard to find those groups anymore, but Al-Anon has a lot of that. You can get it there for sure. And you feel pretty much safe there. And in my experience too is that when I went to the world for my counseling, it was a good experience, I have to say, because they ended up giving me some really great ideas for some books and validated me. They did a lot of validating, and we just need to be validated that our feelings are accurate, that we're not crazy for thinking that way, and that when you think you're addicted, that it's impossible for you to be right with God ever again, and you find out that, hey, that's normal, and all these things that you thought were so awful and that you're such a piece of crap, you find out, well, all kinds of people suffer with that, and that's not so crazy. You can overcome it. It's okay. You're not crazy. You're not evil. You're not whatever. Lots of people suffer with this, and you just found out it's not as bad as all that. And besides, God is bigger, and you just start discovering it. And so I just want you to know that there is a way out. There's absolutely a way out, and just rest assured, there's not anything that's not fixable, and you're fixable. And to try to Dan's been teaching me this, and I finally feel like I'm getting it. But I've had a problem with my whole family having a lot of perfectionism, which causes fear and anxiety at the yin yang. And so as I've been trying harder, it's been getting worse in my body, where I have arm pain and hand pain and whatnot comes and goes. And so I keep on feeling like I've got to fix this all by my little self. And God must be so disgusted with me, because I'm bringing in more fear and more anxiety. It's just a body feeling. Okay. But so finally Dan keeps on telling me, just accept it and relax into it. And then what I realize, it's the 12-step group all over again, where you just literally, I let go, and realizing that I'm really kind of powerless over this whole thing. It kind of takes me over. I have no control over it. It just does this to my body. It makes me feel in this way. It makes me feel bad, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to attach myself to those thoughts anymore about it. I'm not going to give attention so much to it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to surrender it to a power greater than me, who is able to fix it. It's the 12-step group. It says that, you come and you admit that there's a power greater than me, and that I'm powerless over this addiction to fear and anxiety and stress, because I've witnessed it in my family, in my religion, everywhere I go. You're fearful of everything. And that this power who is greater than me is able to return my mind to sanity. And so that's what's in that 12-step group, is that this power is greater than me, can restore me to sanity. My mind. Okay, my mind is the one that's insane. So, but if I just surrender, if we surrender all things, what's in there about the surrender part of it, Dan? Anyway, we learn that we surrender all these things in the 12, in AA and in Al-Anon. We surrender it, and so I'm finally getting it. It's like I don't have to feel bad about it anymore. I don't have to feel guilty that I feel this way in my body anymore. I'm not even going to give it attention anymore. I just know that a power greater than me is going to restore me to sanity, and he's hearing me, and I'm trusting, and I'm hopeful now, because I know that I'm powerless to do it. I can't do it, guys. I tried, and I finally said, okay, I know somebody who can. I do believe that there is somebody who can, and I can't. And so I'm beginning to be really relieved. And then Dan says that probably most likely, because of my willing to let go of this beating myself up because I can't seem to get rid of it, it's all going to go because I'm letting go. And what's the problem is it's tight in my hands and my arms because I'm trying to hang on. And so when I finally am trusting it to somebody who's greater than me, who's going to restore me, and I surrender to this process, and it's what it is in AA, it's the same thing, then that's when it goes. But it's holding on to it, and I have to fix this, that it won't go. And so we have to let go, and then it will go, and not give it attention. So anyway, Dan wants me to stop, so I'm going to stop.
I just think we're probably into that time frame.
I hope that helps, because I love you guys so much. Yeah. And when I'm suffering, I know you're suffering, and I hear the horrible stories, and I know it's so bad out there right now, and it breaks my heart to hear it all, and it's painful to hear it all, and it's beyond what I could even imagine. Everybody's got their story, but it just breaks my heart, and I just want you to know there's hope. There is.
Yeah. And we love all you guys out there, and we love the 6 screens, and we love everybody who comes on, everybody who's watching, everybody on YouTube, Facebook, wherever we're at. Rick said we're on all these things. We love everybody, and we know you love us. And that's what it's all about, the love. and we're all healing together. We all need each other. And like Rick said, this is a group where we come together unconditionally. We don't care what you believe. We don't care what you look like. We just love you for where you're at. And we just all are healing together. I'm still healing. Angela's still healing, like she just said. And we're all learning from each other. That's the main thing. Every voice on here, we can learn something. I learned something tonight. I got a gift tonight from this, and thank you guys for giving me that, just from the right intention. All of us gathered together with the same intention. That's what Jesus said, when two or more gathered with the intention to heal, the intention to be made whole.
That's powerful.
The intention. That's what we're putting out here. There's an intention with Rick's show. There's an intention with his show. Attention to be made whole.
And what is
attention to tell you we love you. Attention to be loved and reciprocate. And that's what we're all doing on here. And that's what I feel like when I come on, whenever I come on. And you just want your brother to be free, just like you're free. But it takes as long as it takes. The apple falls when the apple falls from the tree. And we just praying it falls and you guys get set free. And you find this life that's been waiting for you. You have gifts and talents that you've never seen, things you've never imagined, because we've been locked into brainwashing. We were locked into JW programs, and we were feared into staying into them. We're a miracle that we've come out. But now that we've come out, it's the world will open up once we get past, being angry and all the different emotions, because when you come out, it's like a death. And so you have to go through the roller coaster ride of all the different emotions. And then eventually the lights come on and you start drifting away and you see clear and clear and clear. And then we become that gift to the world.
Yes.
So that's,
and your intention being
Hey, Dan.
Just real quick, your intention being here tonight is because your intention is pure and beautiful. That's why you're here. And God sees that intention. I just want to say that you're being looked at just from that attention, that attention alone. And that is a beautiful and good and perfect thing. Anyway, go ahead, Daniel. I'm sorry. I wanted to say that.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to just share this real quick. I've shared it before, but it was a good tool that kind of helped me. Is in the Watchtower, we were never taught to love ourselves. That was really the opposite. We were just a worthless piece of dust or a worthless slave, whatever. Yeah. When you can eventually look at yourself in the mirror and acknowledge, like you were saying, I got pain in my hands or pain in my legs, or I'm dealing with anxiety or whatever, and you can look in the mirror and acknowledge those things and say to yourself, in looking at yourself in the mirror, I love and accept myself completely. You do that repeatedly. It's like an affirmation of whatever you may feel that day, but I love and accept myself completely.
And unconditionally.
That's getting yourself into the hard love. You can't give somebody something you don't have to give. The more we heal each other, the more we love ourselves, then you're able to interchange with other people.
You know something, Daniel? What you just said there is kind of a secret. If you can love yourself and accept yourself, even with your dark side, you can even embrace it, because it's got to be transformed when it's transformed, right? God is in the transforming business.
Right.
So if we can love our dark side and embrace it, like Angela said, I'm just going to accept that I got this going on. We can actually truly accept others and their transformation period, where they're trying to change from darkness to light, when they're being taken from glory to greater glory. Just think about that. Because we've accepted that and said, okay, I am who I am, like Paul says, I am who I am. I got to accept my weaknesses and my strength, let God work on my weaknesses and give my strengths. If we can truly embrace that in our hearts for ourselves, that is the same thing. And you said it, Dan, we reflect that out to everyone we meet. We don't even see their dark. Hey, I understand it's going to take as long as it takes. Hey, I know I struggle with alcohol. Hey, got it. Hey, man, I'm with you. I'm for you. Anything I could say, you need me to be a partner, whatever, I'm here. Man, when you walk around like that, that is the transforming. And I found out that if I can accept all those places of myself that I don't want to look at, I just say, okay, I put a mirror on them. Okay, I still got to work on that. I can actually have that same lovingness. Like you said, Dan, you can't give away what you don't have. So if I have that for me, I can give it to you. If I hate myself, then I'm going to hate you.
But I love Daniel saying that, look in the mirror, because I've done this work too, but I stopped doing it. But I've heard people who've had cancer heal from doing this work. Because Dan, Louise Hay taught all that stuff too. But you look in the mirror and you say these certain things that I love and accept myself exactly as I am. And all my imperfections. I love myself unconditionally. And Dan's got actually a whole spiel beyond what he said, that he says, well, you come up with your own and you say it every day in that mirror. And at first you look in that mirror and you say it and you're like, you're lying. And then the next day, you're lying. And the pretty soon the next day, oh, well, there's, you know what? I think I see God. I see a little bit of God inside of myself in that mirror. It's like I'm shining a little bit. Okay, I believe it a little bit. Okay, and the next day, you start believing it. The more you say it, the more like, okay, I can say it now. Angela, I love you unconditionally, exactly as you are. Weaknesses and all, and God loves you too. And then I'm like, I don't know. I start to realize that I feel this love in my heart, and then I realize God is right there with me when I'm saying it, and then I can see myself shining. I'm like, God, is that you in the mirror?
We're overcoming a program.
Yeah, so it's like, wow. So it's kind of exciting. Anyway,
well, guys,
just maybe do the work. I
You
don't
know
know.
what was interesting?
Hey, we're gonna
What was interesting when I
hold on, Daniel. Hold on.
Daniel, yeah, we're going to a pasta babe here.
Okay. Okay.
We really appreciate
right.
Dave and Angela coming on tonight. I'm sorry we have to end it here.
That's
okay.
all right, Rick. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having us
Ron.
here. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
Thank you, Carrie Ann.
Love
Thank
all you guys.
Thank you, Debbie. We love you all. Good night, everybody. Thanks for
Well, there you go.
Good night.
Excellent. Well, just give us a second. We'll be right back on. Just give us a second. We'll be right back on with you. Just get our telephone lines working. That's good. We're going to end the broadcast right here.